Hello, everyone. Blue Star Saber here once again to give another review of Star Wars Season 2. Let's see. Well, I'm not sure actually the live thing actually went on or not, so in case, just to be double sure. Hello, everyone. Blue Star Saber here once again to give another review of Star Wars The Bad Batch, Season 2, Episode 7 and Episode 8, otherwise known as the 23rd and 24th overall episode of the series. Last episode we had Tribe, in which the Bad Batch encountered a Jedi survivor in Gunji, our favorite Jedi youngling Wookiee, and helped him back to his home of Kashyyyk, where he now lives among his people. Whether or not he survives afterwards remains a mystery, but at the very least, we know at least one of those little Jedi younglings survived. But anyway, now we're here to discuss the two-parter. Let's see, which is known as the Clone Conspiracy and Truth and Consequences, in which we might end up finally learning the fate of what happens to all clones. Anyway, on to the actual first episode, Episode 7, in which we start off with a Coruscant canteen, and I will admit, Coruscant looks very beautiful with the Season 7 animation and all that stuff. So yeah, pretty good job there. So we're introduced to two clones, one called Cade and one called Slip, and they're voicing their concerns with what's going to happen to the clones and all that though, but also what about the Vice Admiral's Rampart's lives. Though I've seen many people call him Admiral here, so it still kind of confuses me on that end. So there's that. I need to see. We're Slip trying to say they're just following orders, but Cade ends up telling him that he sent a message to Rampart urging him to either tell the truth or he will to the Imperial Senate, or he'll do it himself. Slip tries to warn him about it, but see, with him trying to follow him and all that stuff, but saying that it's too dangerous to cross Rampart. But Cade ends up saying how they're not bad men, but he needs to do this to help and all that stuff. And as a result, he gets shot. As a result, there's a bit of a skirmish fight between Slip trying to hide behind the speed bikers and all that stuff. And then, of course, he tries to check if his comrade's still alive. And I do like the little subtle nod that he's able to, and he's just, let's see, as he got the look of regret and grief on him when he realizes his comrade is dead. Let's see, they managed to freeze on a green speeder bike to Coruscant sky lanes and all that stuff, mostly by pushing it forward before jumping off with it, and then other clones arriving before the assassin can finish off and all that stuff. But yeah, I would admit for this bit, I do like how this one clone Cade is just torn up with his role in the destruction of his home world, his home place and all that stuff. And I do like his words about how they are indeed good men, but they need to do the right thing and all that stuff, despite Slip being a lot more cautious and all that stuff. Granted, I think Cade is a bit naive into thinking and underestimating lengths that Vice Admiral Rampart would go to keep his actions a secret and all that stuff. As we saw what he did with Captain Wilco in the second episode of this season. So, yeah. Granted, this does, in many ways, emphasize a lot about the clones of what we got to know from them throughout the Clone Wars. As they are good men, they're just unfortunately just being manipulated to do bad things, such as killing their Jedi generals and all that stuff, which I wouldn't be surprised if more and more some of these clones were thinking, you know what? Yeah, we did the wrong thing by harming the Jedi and all that stuff. But yeah. Anyway, we cut to the Senate proceedings and all that stuff in the Imperial Senate, where we see this new character called Gani Radili and all that stuff, which was part of the intergalactic banking clan, if you will. Granted, I thought it might have been that other sort of in fact, he's an Issa Tib. Sorry if I pronounce it wrong, people. But I figured he might have been that galactic senator that was secretly also working with the Trade Federation and all that stuff from like the clone build. Let's see, little story arc. But yeah, but clearly that was regarded as a bit of an idiot by one of the banking clans, moon species. But yeah, but clearly from what I'm seeing, it's an entirely new character. For I know that the previous one either fully joined the Separatists and probably got killed, or he retired and is replaced by this guy. Let's see, and whoops, and he's pretty demanding that they need to like pass like due to the storm on Kamino, and this is apparently what we learned about what happens with Kamino. It's been reported as a storm rather than a bombardment and all that stuff. And he's seems to be Rampart's supporters in the defense recruitment bill. And you have a Gossanam. Let's see, it's one of those species that was part of the separatist movement. Being a member of the council of the separatists, I think the most famous member is Shu Mai, who was a part of the separatist council. But let's see, you have them. Whoops. You have them. Virtually supporting the thing, saying that the galaxy needs like conscript military from the people of the galaxy. So yeah, but you have people like Senator Tyrone Palno, who, for those who don't remember, was one of the senators from Taris that was in Star Wars Rogue One that was reluctant to send the rebellion to fight on after the Death Star. But I don't know her ultimate fate, but apparently she resigned from the Senate after turning to Taris by condemning the Empire's actions of building a super weapon. But yeah, but given the fact that the Senate was disbanded soon afterwards, she either fully went back to rebellion or retired and stuff. But yeah, but she's opposed it and all that stuff, as there are more pressing matters across the galaxy, and they don't need a new military. With I believe let's see, I believe let's see, the Archon. Let's see, I'm not sure who. Let's see, but someone is responding about how the military needs to quell insurgents across the Midrim and Outer Seas territories. You have Bail Organa coming in as expected, saying how the Grand Army of the Republic was only a result of the Emergency Powers Act that created a military based on swearing loyalty goes against the fundamental principles of Imperial Senate, using like their own let's see, previous bill from the Days of the Galactic Public against them, all that stuff. With the Gotham senators agreeing, and then Organa asking Grand Vizier Mas Ahmed where Emperor Palpatine stands on this issue and this bill, since he's absent from the Senate, and as he responds about how he trusts the delegation here to look into the interests of the galaxy, which then we get someone who I was not expecting, but well, if it wasn't for like the spoilers on YouTube, we have Chuchi asking why not the clones are included in this defense bill and all that stuff. With the Gotham senator saying how the clone army has been gradually decommissioned since they can't really cope with their accelerated aging. With Chuchi countering that the clone troopers are not really droids who can't be shut down. Of course, it's the soldiers who did defend them. With them getting questioned about the interests of the clones' welfare, with her criticizing the Empire for its willingness to, discard the clones, in spite of what they've done to sacrifice for their galaxy and all that stuff. Wondering like how can they commission an army and they're not going to care for a new one if they can't care for the old one. With Admiral Rampart responding how he plans to provide provisions to place a care of the clone troopers as they're being phased out, but she ends up asking if the clones have a say in their future. Let's see. With Rampart offering that if you want to discuss it more and work with him, he's more than welcome to and all that stuff. with Organa submitting a motion to table a vote on defense recruitment bill, with Senate Palmer seconding that motion, and that seems to stop it for now. As you get let's see, Grand Visit Marder, let's see, walking out with Rampart, expressing his concern of his inability to get the bill passed, and although the Senate's delaying it. But Rampart's confident that it can, let's see, pass despite the opposition. But of course, that Ahmad warns him about what happens with the truth of Camino and how it might affect the bill. But Rampart says that he has plans to deal with any of those obstacles that are coming and all that stuff. And he believes that he can talk Chuchi enough to appease her enough to get the bill passed before any of those provisions regarding the clones come into force. Let's see, with Ahmad giving him one last warning that there's no more surprises for his sake and all that stuff. So, yeah. I do like how you have like the senators debating in the galaxy and all that stuff about. It is interesting, like I said, that the Empire covered up their tracks by saying it was a natural disaster in Camino, despite the whole truth and all that stuff. I do like how we got some familiar senators like a Chuchi, and she's clearly being the voice of the clone thing. I have to admit, it's nice to see Chuchi again because, well, after that whole George Lucas Stand-in Family episode, let's see, where they got kidnapped by his daughters got kidnapped by Greedo, if you will. Chuchi hasn't really had an active role in the Clone Wars. We sometimes see her cameoing and all that stuff. But it's clear that she's gotten older here and a much more wiser and a much more effective senator. In many ways, filling the spot that Padme once left, if you will. Along with, let's say, being Bail Organa's ally, at least in the clone thing. But it's interesting how many people are debating about how we need to replace the clones with a new army. We're wondering what we're going to do with the old one. And I like how Chuchi's being the voice. Let's see, going to have the clones with no rights. But it's clear that many of the senators now in here don't really care much about the clones anymore, not the war's past, and that they're aging and all that stuff. But yeah, but I do like how Chuchi is able to at least buy some more time and all that stuff. And this results in Rampart and Vice Mad and Murder to discuss in secret about how to deal with the situation. And it's interesting, and it's no surprise that given Rampart's previous actions towards the clone, he has no care what happens to them once they de-age and all that stuff, and doesn't plan to give them any provisions and any kind of care once they, no longer fit for purpose. So yeah, it's quite crafty of him, but yeah. But anyway, Chuchi ends up going to have a consistency meeting with the clones at like the bar. I forgot to mention that's where other clones were talking earlier. You might remember it from the Fives or the 66 arc, but yeah, with a chip. But yeah, but that's where clones tend to hang out. And she's meeting several of them who are not quite happy about being phased out, and she's trying to come to understand their needs, but clones like Slip insisting that they want to remain as soldiers, fight for the Empire, if you will. Let's see, with her trying to, I think, and the clones are being phased out once they've served their full rotation, and she's trying to propose crafting a pension plan for them, but they want to fight insurgents, but she ends up asking clones what happens once they're too old for a fight, and this gets the clones to think, as they never had to do that before. Let's see. She ends up telling them they need to accept that their military service will eventually end, and that they have to choose, and if they don't act now, they won't get a chance to choose their own allies afterwards. So she asks them to help her ensure that the bill will eventually meet their needs, and this eventually affects the clones. They'll come together towards her and decide to help her. But anyway, as later as Chuchi's about to leave, Slip ends up knocking to her, asking her about if she really is in the interest of the clones' welfare, and she says that since the clones don't have a representation in the Senate, I mean, the closest they probably got was Karen and Nolan, and she probably wasn't really interested in their well-being, to be honest. But she will try and speak on their behalf, as you other senators like Padme doing so. But anyway, Slip ends up warning her about Vice Admiral Rampart not being trusted and all that stuff. and that Camino was destroyed by him. Let's see, not the storm. She does not believe it at first, but he ends up talking about how he was stationed on on Rampart's Fenta-class Star Destroyer, and how he ordered the bombing of the cities, and he saw it. Chuchi tries to question this more. Let's see, saying that the Senate wouldn't, if this was the case, wouldn't the Senate know if someone come forward? But Slip ends up responding how Rampart reassigned the clones or arranged for their disappearances and even their deaths if they tried to say anything. Chuchi, realizing that Slip isn't really feeling well, she ends up telling him to check his service record as CT0409. I'm not sure what kind of reference that might be to, but I wouldn't be surprised given they've flown me, but yeah. But anyway, he returns to the canteen, and he says that he's telling her this because she's one of the good ones with regards to senators. Let's see, with let's see if Chi-Chi leaving, and eventually later one of her staff members tells her that Vice Admiral Rampart is here to see him, and she asks for CT049's file, but the staff says he's still searching for it as he has also disappeared and all that stuff. But anyway, but yeah, I do like how Chi-Chi is talking to the clones. They are, of course, very reluctant to let's see, give up the fighting of being soldiers because this is what they've been bred for. But Chi-Chi points out that due to their accelerated age, they will eventually have to some point retire. I mean, currently they're best probably about in their mid-20s to 30s, and at some point, at best, they could probably serve another decade. Let's see, or maybe a second one, I'm not sure, but at some point, they will eventually be too old to be soldiers. As we see by the time of rebels how old they have gotten, but yeah. But yeah, so but eventually she is able to persuade them to let's see, eventually be their voice, so she can provide stuff like pensions and let's see, give them a chance to choose their own thing. Which of course leads. I like how Slip ends up telling her the truth about her, about let's see what happened on Camino, and I do like how she's skeptical at first, but he ends up giving her enough evidence to be suspicious. So yeah. So she ends up going let's see, being contact to a back alley, and gets a contact from an unidentified individual for a comlink. Let's see, and all that stuff during that thing. But she is also meeting Vice Admiral Rampart the other day about the process of a full pension plan for the clones. He's skeptical about the idea because there's like millions of clones and they need to focus on backing the Imperials. But Chuchi threatens to withdraw her bill support, saying that if that's the case, let's see, we perhaps may not need the army, but of course, let's see, concedes to agree to her support just to get the bill passed, at least for the time, or at least make it appear that it does. Since, let's see, given the clones' services. But during this let's see thing, Rampart notices that Chuchi is getting a bit troubled and all that sort of stuff, and getting a bit suspicious of her, which ends up asking him about how he survived the storm. He gives a bogus lie about training off planet, and if he was there, he'd maybe to prevent more of the Canamelans losing their lives. And it's clear that a lot of Canamelans were wiped out by his bombardment in this. So yeah. Yes, the majority of the population there perished. But Rampart tries to move the thing forward. But Chuchi ends up warning him that it's easier for some and others before to forget when taking their leaves. But at this point, Rampart is probably starting to realize perhaps Chuchi might know more and all that stuff. Anyway, Chuchi ends up getting one of her staffers to secure the communication and what's going on with C and let's see, with this meeting she has, and she ends up meeting a blue R2 Astromet droid called R2C4. I have to admit, one number off from being R2C3, and we got like a R2 and C3 3PO reference there, but yeah. But anyway, but the droid leads her to none other than Senator Organa, and they end up talking about what happened yesterday and all that stuff, and what kind of how she caused a stir with the Senate and everything, but she's saying that she's trying to do the right thing and all that stuff. Not preferring to take action, empathy, and all that stuff due to ignorance, but Organa ends up asking her about her meeting with Rampart, and she says that he managed to seem to comply, but Organa warns her that he just says the right things just to get what people to do what he wants before preventing them from looking deeper. With her actually feeling that she actually agrees with him, and let's see, going to talk about the clones' rights and they're comparing it to the, I believe, Organa talk about the clone rights and the rising number of insurgencies, which frightens the Emperor, given the fact that this new empire is still a bit vulnerable, despite now the Jedi being lost, if you will. Let's see, and eventually, Organa voices a suspicion about Kamino collapsing like that, and Chuchi ends up revealing that a clone apparently, says Vice Admiral Rampart did it, and all that stuff. With Organa not being a bit surprised, but of course, or maybe not surprised, I'm trying to recall. Organa eventually asks the whereabouts of this clone, with Chuchi saying how he's in hiding right now, and her men are looking for her, but he warns that probably others are also looking for her as well. So anyway, I do like the sort of little meeting you have here with Chuchi and the Vice Admiral, where she's threatening to withdraw her support of the bill if the clones' rights are not secure, which gets him to concede, or at least up front to her. As Bail Organa says, he does say whatever he needs to try and get his own agenda passed. I do like a bit of a dialogue where Chuchi and him, granted, Chuchi might be revealing that she's suspicious of him. We're asking him how he survived Kamino, and her words later, which, yeah, she doesn't clearly trust him, but it's clear that we learned that not only was the cities destroyed, but a lot of Kaminoans, and this means that Vice Admiral Rampart has done a genocide of sorts. So yeah, the Empire did a genocide against the Kaminoans, which shouldn't be surprising given what happened to the Geonosians, but yeah, most of them got sterilized too. And but the Kaminoans got bombarded. Whichever one you think is a fate worse than death, I'm not. Which one has a worse fate, I'm not sure. But either way, mass slaughter to like two of the species behind the Clone Wars. Whether you like them or not, but yeah, they are mostly probably dead by the time of the original trilogy. So yeah. I do like how we've got Bail Organa meeting Chuchi to like discuss what's going on with the clones and all that stuff, and the warnings and all that stuff, and what they need to do to try and get proof of Vice Admiral Rampart's actions. But anyway, we cut to where Vice Admiral Rampart has hired the assassin. Is clearly contacting the assassin that killed Cade earlier, telling them that he needs to get hunting down Slip and of course getting rid of Chuchi and all that stuff. Making sure that the killings can't be traced back to him, and tells the clone to follow Chuchi so he can find the Slip and all that stuff, and where she ends up finally does find where Slip is, and he's trying to get off this planet. As he tried to do a contact thing earlier with like what we all probably pretty much assumed was Captain Rex, but guess who else is helping clones right now? Let's see. And she tells but Chuchi ends up trying to get Slip to testify in front of the Senate and how she can protect him, but he's worried or not, and he wants to flee before he gets killed and all that stuff. Unfortunately for him, the assassin ends up killing him and all that stuff just when he seems about prepared to do it and all that stuff. And or at least he's about talking about how he's planning to leave. And then let's see, one of her guards also gets taken out while the other one tries to get her to safety. Eventually, they go to a factory, and then the other guard ends up being killed. Now I have to admit, let's see, I like how that guy kind of died off screen. I mean, it's kind of like dark, but still, but yeah. But anyway, I do like how the design of this assassin and all that stuff, which I won't get to the details of who he is actually later into the reveal, even though I got spoiled that earlier. But yeah, but you have let's see Slip getting assassinated. I did like how reluctant he was to try and testify because. In many ways, it kind of reminds me of like some of the. It might have reminded me of like I actually saw the film Till last month and all that stuff, and it kind of reminds me of like how some people are afraid, and like the movie Cry Freedom, where some people are afraid of testifying because later they'll be beaten up or killed by people that didn't want their testimonies out in public and all that stuff. But yeah, so it kind of reminds me of that. I do like how Chi-Chi seems to be sort of slowly persuading him at the thing, but it's too late and he gets assassinated. And so do her guards, like I said earlier. So yeah, I do quite like that and the chase thing and all that stuff. But yeah. But let's see, just as Chi-Chi is being worried and concerned, running off and all that stuff, she's Bertie on the floor, and it looks like a shadowy figure is here to finish her off, but instead he ends up stunning the assassin, and it's revealed to be none other than, of course, Captain Rex, which I said earlier. But yeah, which we all guessed. But I do like how Chi-Chi recognizes the clone captain who helped her out in her first episode. She appeared on the moons of Pandora and all that stuff, where they had that conflict with the Tals. So yeah. I quite like how she recognizes Rex. I'm not sure if she knows that Rex is. She probably realizes that Rex might be a deserter, but still glad to see him. Rex ends up revealing how he's here, given he was contacted by Slip, but ended up hearing the crossfire and all that stuff. And Chi-Chi regretfully informs him that Slip's dead, and this guy tried to assassinate him, and if it wasn't for her. Let's see, if not for her, she'd probably be dead. With Rex removing the mask and reveals that it's a clone trooper, and he has no code mark numbers and all that stuff to know his ranks and all that stuff. As a result, they end up taking him back to the Trace Martez repair shop, the Martez sisters, where Rex is borrowing it for that. But yeah, they try to interrogate the clone assassin, who is, I think, called I believe is Clone X. I'm not sure if that's a reference to something in Legends, but this is his only appearance. I heard said some people thought that this guy might have been Slick, but the clone deserter, but that was not the case. Oops. Anyway, the clone talks about how he knows about who Rex is, but he talks about how he's someone who believes in his cause and all that stuff. Let's see, as he ends up using electronic in his mouth to kill himself, as Chi-Chi watches shock and horror at this. Let's see, and as he knows who Rex is, and that ends the episode. Now, I have to admit, before I give my overall thoughts, I will admit I do like how the sort of Rex and Chi-Chi meeting, and I do like the sort of revelation of the clone thing, and I do like how the clone assassin ends up using a sort of like electric chip kind of thing. It reminds me of that stuff in like the first Captain America movie, whenever Cap captured a Hydra agent and all that stuff. So yeah, but I do like how Chi-Chi and Rex had that little conversation about what was going on and all that stuff. And when they interrogate and questions clone, granted, I think some people might not like to be reminded of the Martez siblings, but they don't appear in that episode, so I'm sure that's fine. But overall, my thoughts over this episode, I thought it was pretty good at setting up the let's see discussion of like like this new recruitment bill that will defunct the clones and all that stuff, and you get all these people in the Senate disagreeing and agreeing to it. Let's see, with like some concern for the clones, because there are those senators that remember that the clones were the ones who came to defend them. Granted, perhaps there would also been the Jedi and all that stuff, but of course the clones took out the Jedi. And arguably the Jedi were probably the clones' best bet of having some form of retirement afterwards, back when there was a Republic. I'm not sure what the Jedi would have tried and done with the clones, but I think they would have tried to give them some kind of like life outside the Republic and all that stuff. Who knows? Maybe even help with security in the Jedi Temple or something. I'm not really sure. But yeah. But let's see. But of course, they're all dead. So there's that. Anyway, I do like how you got some clones feeling guilt about how the part they played in the destruction of Kamino, particularly like this Cade fella, and how he was going to testify and all that stuff, but gets assassinated. And I do like how the other ones, that after talking with Chuchi, you get Slip end up telling her the truth, and she investigates it, trying to get him to testify with, of course, assassins. But yeah. But this episode shows just how far Rampart's willing to go to keep silence, though granted it might be more build up from like the second episode where he killed that one clone cat Wilco for trying to report the Bad Batch was still alive. But yeah, but I like how Rampart is really cautious and taking Ahmad's words to heart. The Grand Viz, I believe, that he needs to try and deal with the situation, or he'll be the one that falls for the consequences. But yeah. But of course, Rex appears, and yeah, that is our main clone for this episode, besides Slip. But yeah, but it is interesting that we got an entire episode without the Bad Batch. We got it once before, we nearly got it once before with the first part of the Ryloth two-part episode things, but the Bad Batch had a quick cameo of selling goods to like some of the Ryloth rebels, which allowed Hera to meet Omega and all that stuff. So yeah, overall, I think I'll give this episode a 9 out of 10. Interesting how one of the best episodes doesn't have really the Bad Batch in it, but still, it's got plenty of clones and there's discussions about their fate. So yeah, and I'm looking forward to and it really hypes up for the next episode, which I will now get into. And given from my avatar, you can probably tell that Echo has a very big prominence in the thing. But yeah, oh yeah, I suppose I did like Clone X's designs and all that stuff. And but yeah, I would admit we never get answers on Clone X, so that's the only weakness I'd probably say about these two episodes. But yeah. Let's see. Now that I think about it, a clone called Cade. I wonder if that might be a reference to Cade Skywalker from Legends, but yeah. But anyway, Truth and Consequences. Granted, the whole plot of the episode isn't really on Wikipedia, so I will have to try and remember it as best I can in the summaries, but if I forget any details, I apologize. I always do, of course, watch these episodes before reviewing. I just like having the wikis to remind me of some details I might have missed. But yeah, but we're back on, or let's see, I believe, Ord Mantell, where the Bad Batch is just relaxing, and you have Omega meditating and all that stuff, learning her tips from Gungi, and I do kind of like how she's trying to do it and all that stuff. And this is clearly, and this might lead to more some of the theories that Omega might actually be force sensitive, which would be quite incredible since clones apparently can't be force sensitives. But yeah, but I do like how she's having a brief talk with Echo about this, trying to emphasize more on their bond, if you will, given what happens later in the episode. But he's not really up for that, but Omega is finding it difficult. But yeah. I do like how Echo mentions how the Jedi were quite capable of doing these things given their force abilities. But yeah. But anyway, Let's see, they eventually get contacted by Rex to head to Coruscant, and you can tell Hunter's reluctant here, but Echo and the others do point out, I think, that that Empire thinks they're dead, and let's see, but so they gotta go, so they should be fine as they head there. And of course, they do arrive, though I'm surprised that their ship was not identified by the Empire. I figured that might have at least drawn some attention, but anyway. But they land to meet Rex and Chuchi and get informed of the situation and how they need to provide evidence that's on like Vice Admiral Rampart's Star Destroyer and all that stuff. Let's see, and get the copy and all that stuff. So yeah, which is apparently here on Constant getting some maintenance and all that stuff. So yeah, so you have pretty much our four main Bad Batch guys with Captain Rex going to achieve the thing, while Omega stays with Chuchi to learn about galactic politics. And yeah, I do like how the Bad Batch were first Hunter's reluctant to head to the heart of Coruscant, and I do like how let's see, Omega ends up being given a lesson about it. Granted, most diehard Star Wars fans will already know all this details, but I think let's see, having Omega around is a good way to explain new fans who may have just started the Bad Batch, which would be a bit weird, but still. But let's see, for those who or at least don't see the prequels, about how Coruscant is the capital of the galaxy. And that's also where the center of the Empire is and all that stuff. So, yeah. But I do like Omega's exploration of the Senate and all that stuff, and she's asking Chuchi what they're supposed to do about what I mean by representing the people. And I do like her amazement and wonder at the Imperial Senate and all that stuff. In many ways, I think this sort of did a much better demonstration of showing the scope of the Senate than I guess you could say the prequel movies did, but that could just be me being biased towards this episode. Who knows? But I still think either way, let's see, animated or live action, the Imperial Senate always looks pretty good, especially since Palpatine had a lightsaber duel with Yoda here. So yeah, with a balance of democracy and let's see, face of the galaxy and all that stuff. So yeah. But eventually, of course, Omega ends up accompanying Chuchi to see Bail Organa. I think Bail Organa realizes that, okay, she's a clone and all that stuff, maybe even some amongst the Bad Batch. But she talks about how, let's see, they need to get Hala Batuni, the Kaminoan that was part of Senator, was also part of the Imperial, let's see, Finance Defense Committee and all that stuff. But of course, got removed and all that stuff. So no need her to testify about Rampart's actions and all that stuff. While Omega to confidently tells Bail Organa that let's see, her squad can handle getting the physical evidence of Vice Admiral Rampart's, actions, if you will. I do like the sort of conversation that you had there. But it's interesting that they are brought in, like, arguably, besides the ones that appeared in the movies and the scientist, probably the most famous Kaminoan and all that stuff, which is the senator that caused that clash with Padme over the clone bill arc, like in season 2, and all that stuff, and was nearly framed for the murder of Onfrey Tar and her ally in it. That eventually, with his dead, left to the Battle of Umbara. But that's me just being fighting trivia. But I do like how let's see, Omega's learning more and more about the behind the scenes of the Galactic Senate and all that stuff. And I do like how she ends up asking about representatives of the clones, and Chuchi provides her an answer for that. So that's nice. But But anyway, of course, you get the Bad Batch. Let's see, entering the Star Destroyer. Fanta class Star Destroyer, Rex revealing he's making up as it goes along, like the Bad Batch does. So it's kind of funny how they are influencing each other. Let's see, Hunter being more cautious, Rex being more risk-free. But I do like how you have Tech hijacking, let's see, Speeder and the droids confused and all that stuff. So I thought that was pretty good. And they eventually arrive on the ship. Of course, during this, you have Chuchi and Omega. I can't remember the exact order all the events try by, but they meet with like the senator as she informs them but asks her about the whole missing clone finance stuff, and she let's see, and but she's reluctant to testify and all that stuff because well, Rampart's just one clog in the big picture and all that stuff, and she doesn't really give too much of a dang now that her people's gone or what happened to remaining survivors. And at this point, you have Omega coming in to criticize her and eventually revealing that that was her home too and all that stuff. And I guess after a bit more talk from Chuchi, is persuaded to like testify as long as you have the evidence and all that stuff. So yeah. But yeah, it's not surprising that Halle Berry shows a lack of care for her fellow Cameroons. Good the fact that she seems to not care about the clones themselves. She even badmouths their prime minister, thinking that they would still be in service to the empire, but no, they got tossed aside and then wiped out. I do like how she gets confirmation from Omega that her people were wiped out, but yeah. But it's interesting because there would be people like Halle Berry who won't really care about the majority of their group of Ritzy people, even if they got wiped out and all that stuff. So yeah. Corrupt politicians, if you will. So yeah, that was kind of neat. Anyway, during this, I think Rampart ends up telling Ahmed, Palpatine's right-hand man, or to the Grand Prisoner, I think, that the situation's been taken care of. But meanwhile, you have the Bad Batch sneaking into his Venta-class Star Destroyer, recovering the data, but of course, the tension building all that stuff because Tech has hacked and copied all that the data they need. Let's see, let's set off an alarm and you have clones coming in and they're still of course trying to blast them with stuns while the clones themselves are trying to shoot them to kill. And they do take out, I will admit they did take out a few during the stealth thing, so I thought that was pretty good. But there's also, I forgot to mention, it's too kind of funny how Wrecker seems to not be good with heights, and what Rex saw was him getting better, pointed out by Echo, so I thought that was funny. So yeah, there's that. I do like how the clones are still, Bad Bats are still trying to stun their clones and not kill them as much as possible, since, well, they don't have much, since they're due to their programming and all that stuff. But yeah, they don't have their chips removed. But yeah. So I'm forgetting what I was going to say next and all that stuff. But something about the clones. Damn it, I'm getting tired. Sorry about this, people. But I do like the clones are trying to stun and all that stuff. Let's see, again, the previous season, and even like stormtroopers from like episode 4. But yeah, but I do find it interesting how let's see, of course, the time things to build tension. But I do find it interesting how they try to stun the clones, but when they're in the ships, they don't care about blasting them out of the sky. But then I guess they realize that is 100% unavoidable. Witty, if we could, we'd destabilize the ship and get the clones out, but now we're going to have to fire them down and prevent them from taking off again and all that stuff. And I do like how they use Rampart's own Star Destroyer, Fantasy-class Star Destroyer, from shooting them and all that stuff while they escape. And I do like how they end up escaping by having the engines push forward and then using the escape pods to fly over and all that stuff. So yeah. And eventually they arrive to like Omega's group to give them the copy data check of like the evidence while Chuchi is currently distracting let's see, Rampart with let's see, Hina Bonteri's accusations of him doing fraud, which gets some of the senators looking at him suspiciously, but of course you get the two defenders from the last episode coming into this defense and all that stuff, since they clearly have an interest in keeping the Vice Admiral around. See, so yeah, I will admit, during these whole action scenes, I do like how the clones are still trying not to kill as many of their brothers as possible and stun them, but of course in the vehicles and ships, that's kind of more hard to do since they explode, so there's that. I do like the escape plan of causing like the ship to get into its engines when it's not taking off and all that stuff. So it ends up sliding down and then just using the escape pods to, escape and even fly with tech piloting. And you got quite a lot of backseat drivers, I'm afraid, but yeah. But either way, let's see. So yeah, but that gives them enough time. But they are able to escape, and I do like how they managed to fool all those clones there. But anyway, I do like how Chuchi is beginning the statement about what Vice Admiral Rampart did and all that stuff before anything can be, before the bill can get passed, and also to buy the Bad Batch enough time, which eventually succeeds when though of course much to the impatience of let's see, Halle Bontoni and all that stuff. Let's see, getting impatient with Senator Chi-Chi and all that stuff. So yeah, but Organa, of course, being given the data chip, ends up telling the senators that new evidence comes to life, despite the fact that you had some of the Rampart's supporters trying to get her to, let's see, Chi-Chi move from office or removed from the Senate where it passed this bill. And of course, we see the hologram footage of Vice Admiral Rampart destroying Camino, and this outrages the Senate, or some calling him a murderer, a monster, and all that stuff. He tries to deny it, but let's see, Chi-Chi and Bell have gone in a row. Palpatine shows up, and when he does, he's every bit as terrifying and as awesome as ever, as he's being voiced by Ian McDermott still, who's becoming a lot more active in voicing the character during the Star Wars years. Interesting enough, he ends up sounding a bit like the Rise of Skywalker voice, so I'm not sure if that's regards to his age, health, all that stuff, or just being told to voice like that. I'm hoping he's okay, but yeah. But I do like how he pretty much takes advantage of the whole situation. Let's see, carrying Rampart being blamed for his cruel actions, or points out the clones, let's see, given their sense of loyalty and order, let's see, we're ordered to do it without questioning it, so saying that they need to pass this bill, and of all the senators that we saw from earlier that opposed it, all looked in shock and disappointment, and I think even Omega, who gets a glimpse of the Emperor for the first time, which I quite liked, she's realizing, oh my god, this is the big bad and all that stuff. He's behind everything. But yeah, and including this bill, if you will, as he reveals that it's clearly he let the guy who Vice Admiral Rampart be the fall guy, if you will, and take the blame, what he ushers in a new army for his empire, the stormtroopers and all that stuff, while also finding a way to get rid of the clones and all that stuff. And I do like how when we cut to the next scene, we have Rex, the Bad Batch, and Chuchi all together, talking about how Palpatine played them from the start. And Zero seems to still be a step ahead, just like it was in the war. And I will admit, I do like how many of the clones here realize that, okay, Palpatine manipulated the war in order to take control of both sides and all that stuff. So it does make me wonder why Ezra needed to give that message to Rex during we went to meet that super tactical battle droid and all that stuff, and he tried to tell them who's the real enemy between you guys? It's not each other, it's the Empire. So yeah, you have that. So I do like how you got let's see how they realize that Palpatine played them all. Have Rampart be the fall guy, make it look like the genocide, was partly responsible for the clones and all that stuff. I do like how it's emphasized a bit with Omega talking about like for some reason she's disappearing into dust, but something tells me she'll be back for the next season. But but she gets a sort of interesting life lesson here about no, telling the truth and all that stuff was right. It says that somehow, somewhere, you get someone to listen facts and truth to sit their own agendas, and that was clearly the case with Palpatine. And this does feel like it could be used for any type of scenario, not just Star Wars, really. But yeah, that's all I know. But that's just me guessing. But the biggest thing of this episode is the fact that after, let's see, you got members of the Bad Batch saying goodbye to Echo and all that stuff, Omega realizes that he's leaving and all that stuff. And Omega's doing so because he wants to help Rex, help other clones and all that stuff. Same with Senator Chuchi and all that stuff, so he'll be staying with them. She's a bit reluctant at first because Echo is one of her squad, and arguably one of her brothers, if you will. So, he doesn't really want her to see him go, but he says he has to do this, and he will come back at some point. And tells her good luck with her training, and tells him to look after the rest of the Bad Batch as the episode ends. Now, Echo leaving. I'm not really surprised and all that stuff, but I think it was a pretty good send off. But yeah, but I figured like this was probably also a bit. It's no surprise that he would go with Rex to help out other clones, as he's been voicing his frustrations to Hunter about them doing more and all that stuff. And clearly, this is his idea of doing more. And I do like how the other Bad Batch of members have accepted this, realizing that he was probably going to retire sooner during off screen from probably after the heist. But they do wish him well and all that stuff. So I do like that. And this is clearly why I have the Echo avatar for a change. But let's see, from the looks of things, I might not use it too much. But yeah. But I do like how Omega is reluctant to see him go and all that stuff. But he says he will be back, which I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah. But now, but yeah, I think him being absent for a bit probably might help the show a bit because, well, he seems to be a bit of a Fritzy just their character for most of the episodes, but there are moments he does have. But I do like how the bit at the beginning of the episode where they're talking about meditation seems to lead into the build to this moment and all that stuff. Or at least with like what they are doing and all that stuff. But yeah. But I do like how but yeah, so we got a much tighter cast. So you pretty much have 3 of the original 4 members and Omega and all that stuff. So they're now a squad of 4. So that'll be interesting. See what they do. I would have Sid's in the comments about Echo disappearing because they were waiting for Sid earlier. But yeah. But I do like how he's joining Rex, and I think that makes sense. I'm hoping that he's with Rex, we're going to get at least some episodes in the Bad Batch where you have a Rex and Echo buddy cop relationship, exploring the galaxies and helping each other, solving clone issues and all that stuff. So yeah. But yeah, I think it made sense that Echo is probably the least developed, both the most and least developed of the Bad Batch. Developed a lot in the Clone Wars, but in the Bad Batch a bit absent, if you will, until like the first 2-parter episodes of this season. So yeah. But yeah, this is like this episode kind of gives a lot more focus on it, but or at least enough focus that his gets to be the highlight of the episode of his departure. Despite the fact that Emperor Palpatine tricked them and used Rampart as a fall guy. So yeah. But yeah, but I think this does tighten the cast a bit, and if they want to go back to either Echo or Crosshair and get their perspectives of what's going on in the galaxy, let's see, they will probably get the episode likely to themselves, or in the case of Echoes, for like Captain Rex, but we'll have to wait and see. Overall, I think I'll give this episode a 9. out of 10, maybe a 9.5. I thought it was a pretty good episode. Let's see. You have Omega learning about the Galactic Senate and even meeting the Emperor for the first time, and Ian McDermott plays his role well, manipulating the Senate to what would arguably should have been a moment where they vote against the recruitment bill, but instead do so after his words of manipulation, using the Clones as scapegoat with Rampart and all that stuff. So there's that. Let's see. See the sort of fight chase that goes in with the Bad Batch, and of course the parting goodbye, the temporary parting goodbye of Echo with the rest of the Bad Batch, as he helps Rex help more clones and all that stuff. As Hunter's quite not yet ready to fight the Empire, so yeah, there's that. So yeah, overall these have been good episodes. I hope those who end up listening in or end up watching this liked what I had to say and all that stuff. And I look forward to the next episode next week when it comes out. Episode 9 for season 2. But yeah. And overall the 25th episode of The Bad Batch. But that's all I have to say. I am Blue Star Saber. May the Force be with you. And goodbye. I hope you enjoyed. Yeah, let's see. So yeah, great episodes. Great two-parter. Arguably among the best The Bad Batch has produced. Let's see. And quite engaging politics. Let's see. Vice Admiral, I will admit, Rampart is taken out much quicker than I expected it being. I thought it would at least survive the end of the season, but no, he's gone and he's the fall guy. So he's either in jail for the rest of his life or maybe even executed to be quiet. But yeah, let's see. That's all I have to say. But yeah, maybe I keep repeating myself, but yeah. Blue Star Saber, signing off. May the Force be with you. And goodbye.